everyone, Simsy Claire here and welcome back. Today we're doing another Sims 4 speed build here in the new world of Evergreen Harbor. We're back in Port Promise for this one because I ended up redoing the bar that's in this world. It's called the Caboose. I went and visited it in one of my save files and I really when I wanted to put it in this Let's Play, I didn't want it to look the way that it did, so I decided to renovate it. Now the lot will function as either a bar or a restaurant. I did make sure it could work as both. I put in all of the necessary items for a restaurant, so all you should have to do is go in and change the lot type and then it'll run perfectly fine. I did not set up a menu or anything though, so that is completely up to you. You can use the preset ones from the game or you can create your own. I just wanted to make sure that it would work. So going into this, I am doing this L shape here. It is going to be made out of shipping containers. Again, I was really feeling the exterior of the Port Promise area with all the shipping containers and the dirt and all that. Now in our Let's Play, which is where this is going to be featured, we are already in a neutral area. It's no longer an industrial one, so I did decide to give it a couple of more like green eco footprint items. That way it would kind of match as if it was renovating with the town. And here I am doing probably the one thing I know how to do to make a modern roof. I'm really not that comfortable with modern builds. I much prefer like traditional or like cottage style homes. So usually if I'm doing a modern build, I just do the shortest half wall height around the top and then just make it flat. The only downside to this is that the roof patterns don't fit, so you have to use flooring patterns, and that is a little bothersome. And technically in the debug menu we have a flat roof option, but I can never get it to work with the roof patterns either, and I think it's because it's a part of the debug menu. So I do apologize if my modern roofs get a bit repetitive. I'm going to try and change it up now that I'm doing this channel. And then here I am, I'm just starting with the outside with the windows. We've all heard me talk about these windows before, so we know that I have a bit of an issue with them, but I decided to go with these bay windows because I kind of wanted to use the like interior shelf that they come with. There's no real slots on them, at least I didn't think that there was when I was building this. I thought I was going to have to use the 9 key, and I do have to use it, but once I raise them up to the height, it seems like they snap into some sort of a place on these windows, so I'm not 100% sure how the placement works with these, but they do eventually snap, so I think you just have to play with it for a little bit. And then here I am just fixing the length and the width of the patio area. I wanted there to be a big outdoor area because this is all about living green and being outside and experiencing nature, so I wanted the majority of the restaurant and bar to be outside. And I really like how the patio area ends up working. I have a tendency to make my restaurants a bit too big, just with like the seating areas, and I think that this one ends up being a good size. There isn't that many tables, particularly since it also works as a bar. I think it has just the right amount of tables for it to make it fit for both. And then there I am, you saw me placing a dumpster. I wanted to make sure there was a dumpster on this lot because usually when I do bars and restaurants, I make sure that there is a woohoo place, just for gameplay purposes. And with this new pack, obviously we did get dumpster woohoo, so I thought that that would be the most fitting to place here. And then you saw me just place some lights around. I usually just do the base game ones, but I decided that I was going to use those because I figured those were going to be the ones I was going to leave in for the build anyway, so I thought I would just stick with them because they don't really get in the way while you're building. And then here I'm going to do a lattice roof over the patio. I started with white and then I decided I wanted to go with black. I thought it just matched better considering I did the fence in black around the side there. And basically I'm just creating like a square fence at the same level of the roof as the roof. And I'm just doing these like little squares here, and then I'm taking out the interior where it built a floor after I connected all the squares. And this does take a little bit when it's not sped up. I think the roof in total took me about like maybe 20-25 minutes, but once it's sped up it's not that bad, so that's why I left it in. I also wanted to make sure you guys could see what I was doing and it wasn't just like poof, there's a magic roof there. And then here, after I do the fencing, I make sure I use the 9 key and then flip up so that I can see the top of the roof, and I just place these plants all around. Now sometimes I lower them a little bit so that way they can like kind of go through the fencing and it's not just sitting on top. But this one I decided, since there's going to be people sitting underneath of it, it would probably make better sense if they were just on top of the roof and not clipping through. And I don't try to do any special patterns when I do this because I want it to look more natural, so I do just kind of place them around randomly. And then here you see I'm also building a green wall with the ivy from Vampires. I think that this is something that's absolutely gorgeous to do, particularly with these fences that we got from this pack, because they look like trellises, like something you would see ivy growing on. So I think it's just such a cute little feature to do, and you will see I end up doing it on both sides. I don't know if it's the way the fence works or if it's just how the camera angle was, but you could not tell that I did it on the other side once I went down to that angle, so I did decide just to do it on both so it would I could make sure it was in the screenshots at the end. And then here I am using the 9 key again just to raise up some more hanging plants, just so they cover the edge right there of the fence so it doesn't kind of look so stark against the rest of the build. And that's pretty much what I do usually when I do roofing like this. I don't do it a lot, but I like to do it on more modern looking builds just because I think it lends to the modern nature of things. And then here we are going on into the interior. Now the interior is very basic. It's not a large space, as you can tell, but I do get quite a bit in here because, as I said, it does function as a restaurant, so we do get a kitchen area in here with the I Dream of Sue station. So I thought that was pretty cool that I was able to end up fitting that in, because at first I was just going to do it as a bar because I didn't think I'd get it in, but I ended up making it work. And then here you see, this is where I start fiddling with the bay area of the windows. So as you can see there, it kind of just clipped once I raised it up, and I don't understand how that works, because if you just try and place it on the window, it doesn't work, but the moment you get them even with the window, then they snap. So that's what I was kind of talking about at the beginning of the video. And then I'm just placing a lamp here, and then I go and I place the hostessing stand for the restaurant function over in this corner, and I end up decorating it a little bit. I do work in a restaurant, and so usually around hostess stands they have like books and they have chairs and stuff for them to sit in and to write notes in about the tables and the customers. So I did decorate this area over here a little bit, kind of to make it just a bit more realistic. I give them a drink tray, just in case, if the hostesses get thirsty, but also in case like a customer wanted something to drink. And then I give them this notebook for what I was thinking, like reservations, so that way they had a hard copy of it. And then I just place a stool, so that way the hostesses have somewhere to sit. And then I'm moving on to the wallpaper and the flooring. I really wanted to use this wooden wallpaper. I used it in a lot of the builds that I've been doing with this pack, but it's my favorite wallpaper from it, and I think it looks the best out of all of them. At least, like, it's not necessarily like a better texture, but I think that it works better in more builds, so that is why I use it quite a bit. And then here I'm doing the bathrooms. I was contemplating only doing one bathroom, but for gameplay purposes, like if you're on a date and both of your Sims have to use the bathroom, it's a lot better if you have two. So I did decide just to do two smaller ones instead of one larger one. And then they just have basic doors on them, so it's not like girl-boy bathrooms. Either one can be used for either sim. And then here I'm just placing a couple of the plant decorations that we got. I used a lot of plants on the outside on that trellis and the roof for the patio, so I wanted to make sure I brought a lot of that greenery on the interior as well. And then here I'm going over to the bar. I was having an issue placing a bar because a lot of the bars looked like they would be too big and the sim couldn't fit around it to get to the behind the bar for the bartender. So you will see I end up placing a door behind it just so I could make sure that the bartenders could get into the bar area so that they could do their jobs. And I chose this bar from Get Famous because I thought that the brown and black colors matched the wood that I was using on the walls perfectly, and I also liked how it glowed. It looked really good with this setting. And then here I am placing some decorations on the bar. I was trying to get these plants to fit like they were on the other side, but for some reason, I don't know if the slots are different or if it's because I filled one slot already, but they were not looking even with the other plants, so I decided to leave it. And then here I am placing a TV. Bars require TVs, restaurants do not, but bars do. So I decided I would make this kind of more like the pub area, and I placed the TV and then a couple of high chair tables. And I only do 2 inside, but I get quite a few outside. So it does end up seating quite a few Sims. And then this is where I end up putting the kitchen. I do end up moving the window a little bit just to give the kitchen a bit more space, because I wasn't quite sure if the Sim could actually get into the kitchen and work with it being so small. So I just put a door here, and then I also put a trash can in here because I think it's the restaurant lot type that requires you to have a trash can. Even if you have the one outside, it requires you to have a trash can. So I put that one in there, and then here I am moving on to the outside. I placed the waitressing stand over in the corner, just because in case you wanted it to work as a bar, I didn't want all the restaurant equipment to just be in the way of it functioning as a bar. And then here I am trying to find tables to put on the outside. I initially go with these get-together ones, and I thought it looked okay. It wasn't my favorite. They matched the ones that I left on the inside, so I was like, at least they match, but I wasn't really liking how, I don't know, almost cohesive they looked with the dark brown wood on the outside, on the flooring, but I didn't want to change the wood on the flooring because I liked how that looked with the exterior of the build. So I was kind of playing around with it, and I leave it for a little bit while I get these chairs out and then also put a couple decorations on the table. But I do end up going into the debug menu and trying to find candles to place on all the tables, and that's when I remembered that we had fabricated tables from this pack that we don't normally have access to, but because I used the hidden objects cheat, I was able to unlock. So I do end up changing out all of these tables, and it's a bit of a process because I already put decorations on some of them, and I already put chairs around all of them. So I have to move all the chairs and then reclone them so I can get them in the proper spots again. But I think it was worth it because I definitely like how it works, or how it looks after I do that, much better than how it looks now. And there you saw me just putting the cheat in because I couldn't remember if I had put it in at the beginning of the video or not. Sometimes I only put move objects on, and then I realize that I need to do the other one as well. And then here I am. This is where the tables that I end up using. I think that the black, it's dark enough that it matches, but it's not too dark that it blends in, or since it's black it's not brown, so it doesn't blend in. And then it also brings some of the light from the interior, from the wood on the outside. So I really liked how it looked. And then I also do a different color for the smaller tables over here in the corner. I thought that was okay because the whole object of this pack is to reuse and recycle and refurbish. So I thought it was kind of cool that the restaurant had different colored tables outside, because it's almost like they were making their own furniture, or they were refurbishing furniture that they found around the town. And then here I am placing some of the candles from the pack from the debug menu that we got, and then also just finishing putting the flowers on all of the tables. And here I move around a little bit trying to decide if there's anything else I want to do on the inside before I go outside to landscape. And again, just like my shipping container home, there isn't a whole lot of landscaping going on because most of this world is just covered in trash because we're in the industrial neighborhood. So I just built a pathway up to the restaurant door with the same wood from the deck, and then I line everything with plants. I didn't want the deck area to be completely open to everything else. I wanted it to kind of have a separation, but I didn't want to use the fence. So I did decide to go with these cement planters that we got in the game, and I think that it looks really cute. And then here I decided to do a little seating area on the outside. I wanted there to be an area for the Sims to kind of wait for their tables, or if they were at the bar, they could or if you were running this as a bar, they could get their drinks and then come sit out here for a little bit of privacy. And then I do place one of these boxes out here just for it's kind of more for decoration than actual purpose, because I figured that this Sim would have, there'd be garbage around here because of the world that we are playing in. But besides this seating area, the rest of it is pretty much just placing some of the debug items around to make the lot fit in more. So I hope you enjoyed this build. I'm really excited that I'm finally having a non-house speed build up on this channel, because I really do like doing community lots, and I hope to do more of them. So I hope you enjoyed it and you stick around for the next one, and I'll see you all then. Bye!